Shalom, Yasharala. I want to start off with saying Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. I want to give infinite honors to Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakar Kodash. And I'm going to give double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, who read the double hours, our teachers, our elders up in New York. From elder tone down, they'll render their double honors. And salutation to you, sincere I can pushing the truth across the four winds with all fear, trembling, and sincerity. I'm going to do this sit down by confusion of faces. And this truth, man, the Most High has had mercy on us and gave us understanding of the scriptures. And he revealed to Paul the mystery of the Gentiles. And what the mystery is that the Israelite foreigners were going to come back from the lands where they were scattered to and look like the nations where they were scattered to. So Israelites that are scattered to the land of Moab, what you know is China, you're going to have Israelites over there that look exactly like physical Chinese. Israelites that are scattered in India, you're going to have Israelites that look just like physical so-called East Indians or Elamites, and so on and so forth. All right? So Israelites that's over here in America and that was scattered all throughout Europe, guess what? You're going to have Edomites that look like full-blooded Edom. You're going to have Israelites that look like full-blooded Edomites. Okay? That was the mystery of the Gentiles that the Most High gave that understanding, that dispensation to Paul. And Paul pushed that across the four winds. And right here, we have a confusion of face. This guy name is John Brown. And the Most High told us through the scriptures that we would know those Israelite foreigners through the Spirit. Their spirit will bear witness that they're the sons of the power. Okay? So I'm about to read up do this sit down by this Israelite foreigner who looks like a full-fledged Edomite, but he's an Israelite. And by reading his bio, it reeks of an Israelite. It reeks of Jake, okay? It does not reek of an Edomite, all right? And I'm going to go through precepts to funnel this bio through to let it be known. Through the scriptures, it will prove that this guy is an Israelite through his actions. And this is his biography. And here go first and foremost. In his latter days, man, look at him. He had a full-fledged beard, man. All right? But it got a scripture that says you have Israelite foreigners that keep the law, that haven't even been taught the law. It's just in their spirit to keep the law. I mean, this guy's beard, this is an actual picture. This guy's beard is bigger than mine, man, and longer than mine. So I'm going to start off from the top. This guy's name is John Brown. He was an abolitionist. And during that time, you had people rising up that was trying to abolish slavery, all right? But this guy stood out amongst all of them. And according to history, it said that Abraham Lincoln did the Emancipation Proclamation because of what this guy did, all right? They had Esau had to up his game because this is one thing you don't see in history. You had uprisings all throughout history, and it was getting ridiculous. All right, our people wasn't just taking slavery laying down. And Esau don't put in a lot of the history books. They only show their rebellion with Nat Turner, but they don't show it was hundreds and even thousands of uprisings of the Israelites coming against the people rising up. All right. And this guy, he wasn't a so-called slave because he was an Israelite foreigner. All right. He was a Gentile that looked like the oppressor. But his spirit was like Moses. He saw his people his people, his brethren getting oppressed, and he was moved and he helped them. All right. So I'm going to start off. This is about John Brown, May 9th, 1800. All right. December 2nd, 1859, all right? This guy lived 59 years. He was an American abolitionist, Salaki. He was an American abolitionist who believed in the advocate armed insurrection as the only way to throw the institution of slavery in the United States, all right? Who was being a slave? Who was being oppressed? The Hebrew Israelites, okay? So for him, a Hebrew Edomite, that's one telltale sign he was an Israelite. A Hebrew Israelite is devised wicked on his bed. He can't go to sleep unless he do some kind of evil. He has no conscience. His Edomite's conscience is seared with a hot iron. He have no understanding of right and wrong. All he want to do is wickedly. He don't care. He wouldn't care about ending slavery. Okay. His first gained attention when he led small groups of volunteers during the Bleeding Kansas crisis of 1856. He was dissatisfied with the pacifism of the organized abolitionist movement. All right. And one of those abolitionists that he was dissatisfied with was Fredrick Douglas, who was a coon. Fredrick Douglas was a fucking coon. All right. And that's one of them he's talking about. And you're going to see Fredrick Douglas was against this guy. And this guy was trying to kill the white man, so-called white man. So I'm like, when I keep reading that, show you that our people always been coons, and this place glorified coons. Fredrick Douglass is glorified here in America. But this guy and Fredrick Douglass was at enmity, and this guy wanted to do an insurrection on a so-called white man. So why would him and Fredrick Douglass be at enmity? Because Fredrick Douglass was a fucking coon. Okay? All right. He was dissatisfied with the pacifism of the organized abolitionist movement. These men are all taught. What we need is action. Action. In May 1856, Brown and his supporter killed 5 supporters of slavery in the Potawatomi massacre, which responded to the sacking of Lawrence by pro-slavery forces. Brown then commanded anti-slavery forces at the Battle of Jack, June 2nd, and the Battle of Osawatomie, August 3rd, 1856. So this guy just went around going to war with the so-called white man. This dude bare arms and went to war with this devil, okay? But he looks like a devil. When you look at him, he looked like a porcelain-skinned devil. All right? But this was an Israelite, man. And he took up arms and went to war. Now, he didn't do it according to knowledge. Our weapons of warfare are spiritual, not carnal. But his spirit bear witness that he wasn't an Edomite. That's the point of this sit-down, okay? All right? And this guy was hanged. What does Scripture say? Cursed him that it was hanged on a tree. He died the death of an Israelite, okay? All right. In 1859, Bragg led a raid on the Federal Army of Harper's Ferry, Virginia, intending to start a slave liberation movement that was spread south through the mountain regions of Virginia and North Carolina. All right. This guy wanted to start an insurrection and liberate the children of Israel. All right. Now, they probably didn't know that they were the sons of Israel, but Yasharallah. But look at his spirit. What is his spirit bearing witness? His spirit is bearing witness that he wasn't an Edomite. Okay? This guy wanted to liberate the Israelites. That's not in the Edomite spirit. An Edomite don't give a fuck about the estate of an Israelite. They don't give a fuck. The scriptures say the wicked, in Psalms 58, the 3rd verse, it say the wicked are estranged from the womb. They come out speaking lies. They don't give a fuck. But this guy gave a fuck. All right. So that's another telltale sign. All right. He seized the army, but 7 people were killed and 10 or more were injured. He intended to arm slaves with weapons from the arsenal. See, that an Edomite would never have done that. He was looking at them as his brothers. All right. And they were his brothers biologically. All right. But only a small number of local slaves joined the revolt. And that shows you the power of Stockholm syndrome and philosophy. That shows you how this white man, so-called white man, has infiltrated our minds, bro. All right. Our people are happy slaves. You got a guy here that has hit a whole armory and got innumerable weapons and innumerable weapons and bullets and shit. And Our people were so destroyed mentally, they didn't even want to take up arms, man. This guy only got a few men that rose up with him, but that's a representation of the elect. When I keep reading this, it's only going to be out of all those Israelites that was in slavery, only a few took arms with him. And that's a representation of the elect, man. Only a few good men are going to rise up against this beast system, man. Okay? He intended to arm slaves with the weapons from the arsenal, but only a small number of local slaves joined the revolt. All right, safe to say, man, no, through the spirit that they were the elect. All right. Within 36 hours, those of brown men who had not fled were killed or captured by local farmers, militiamen, and U.S. Marines. All right. The latter led by Robert E. Lee. He was hastily tried for treason against the Commonwealth of Virginia. The murder of 5 men, but not he killed way more than 5 men, including 3 blacks. All right, in the other in his other rebellions, he killed plenty of Edomites. This was just the one he got caught in. Okay, and indict and inciting a slave insurrection. Only an Israelite would worry about inciting a slave insurrection. A Moabite don't care about us being enslaved. When you read Psalms 83, all of the nations wanted us put in slavery, and our name blotted out under the sun. The only people that's going to worry about us regaining Israelite supremacy and being from under the power of Edomites is an Israelite. That's it. Okay? An Edomite, a so-called white man, does not want us to bring it down the insurrection on his people and uplift our people. And the so-called white man would never give us guns to war against his people. All right? Like Elder Tahar say, it's not gonna have no when people talk about this guy Cornelius, who is the Israelite, it ain't gonna no second Edomites that's gonna turn against their forefathers to help Israelites. That's not about to happen. Cornelius was an Israelite, man. Ain't no second white red Hebrew Edomites that's gonna turn against their forefathers, their nation, their heritage, and to uplift Israelite supremacy. That ain't gonna happen, man. Only an Israelite would do such a thing. Even carnal Israelites, like this, these guys did this in carnality. All right, they didn't do it according to knowledge. Only an Israelite is gonna rise up and do those things. The Sakari, the who else? The Zealots. All right, them was carnal niggas, but they came up against Rome. Only Israelites are gonna do that. Not no other nation, okay? He was found guilty on all counts and was hanged. He was the first person convicted of treason in the history of the country. And he was an Israelite, man. The first person convicted of treason in the United Snakes of America, man. But this guy was an Israelite, all right? The elites probably know he was an Israelite, but your average Joe don't, okay? Historians agree that Harper's Ferry raid and Brown's trial, both covered extensively by the national press, escalated tensions that led to the South's secession a year later and the American Civil War. All right? Brown's raid captured the nation's attention. Southerners feared that it was just the first of many northern plots to cause a slave rebellion that might endanger their lives, while Republicans dismissed the notion and claimed that they would not interfere with slavery in the South. John Brown's Body was a popular Union marching song that portrayed him as a martyr. All right? So this guy was an Israelite, man. He died as a martyr. What? A martyr for what? Trying to bring the Israelite salvation. He was trying to bring Israel salvation, man. But he didn't do it according to knowledge, man. He was no different than the Maccabees. They wanted to give Israel salvation, but they didn't do it according to the knowledge, okay? All right, let me go. I'm not going to read all of this because I'm going to go get some scriptures. What else I wanted to get? Just get some valid points, okay? All right, this is another thing. Check them out. In 1848, Edomite would never do this. In 1884, Brown heard of Garrick Smith's Adirondack land grants to poor black men called Timbuktu, and decided to move his family there to establish a forum where he could provide guidance and assistance to the blacks who were attempting to establish communities in the area. He bought from Smith land in the town of North Elba, New York, near Lake Placid, for $1 an acre. And he spent 2 years there. After he was executed, his wife took his body there for burial. 12 of his collaborators were later buried in a mass grave there. Since 1895, the John Brown Forum and gravesite has been owned by the New York State and is now a National Historic Landmark, all right? But this guy, man, was all about helping the Israelites, man. Literally helping them, not helping them to expose them or use their gifts so he could get rich. He was literally trying to uplift his people, man. All right? All right. What else? Bear with me, Yasharala. These are the different massacres he did, man. He went on like 3 or 4 insurrections just killing Edomites. But I'm trying to get to the parts, to the valid parts. Bear with me, Yasharala. Here we go. This is what I wanted. I wanted to get the part to show Fredrick Douglas was a motherfucking coon. Fredrick Douglas probably could be Martin Luther King in the motherfucking reincarnation. As the October election saw a free state victory, Kansas was quiet. Brown made his men return to Iowa, where he told them tidbits of his Virginia scheme. January 1858, Brown left his men in Springdale, Iowa, and set off to visit Fredrick Douglas in Rochester, New York. There he discussed his plans with Douglas and reconsidered Forbes' criticism. Brown wrote a provisional constitution that would create a government for a new state in the region of his invasion. See, he was doing a whole new government, man. He was trying to uplift the Israelites like Septimius Severus. If he'd have got in power, next thing you know, Israelites would have been running America. He then traveled to Peterborough, New York, and Boston to discuss his matters with the Secret Six, and those were the ones funded him, and they probably was Israelites. Okay, they probably was Israelite confusion of faces, because they the ones that was funding everything he did. In letters to them, he indicted that along with recruits, he would go into the South equipped with weapons to do Kansas work. Okay. Trying to get to the part where it was talking about it's fucking Uncle Tom, man. All right. On December 20, Brown led his own raid. This is a whole nother one, in which he liberated 11 slaves, took captive 2 white men, and looted horses and wagons. Man, it's something Israelite to do, man. Okay, he hijacking shit, spoiling shit, taking captives with him, man. Doing all this in the name of delivering his people, man. But he looks like an Edomite. Okay. This is a whole. He went on like 3 or 4 raids, man. All right. On January 20th, 1859, when you get a chance, you can read it yourself. I'm just going through valid points. All right, on January 20th, 1859, he embarked on a lengthy journey to take the liberated slaves to Detroit and then on a ferry to Canada, because that's what a lot of slaves would do when they when they run from South, they would flee to Canada. But Canada didn't have slavery. While passing through Chicago, Brown met with abolitionists Allen Pinkerton, John Jones, and Henry O. Wagner, who arranged and raised for the fare of the passage to Detroit and purchased clothes to supplies for Brown. Jones' wife, Mary, guessed that the supplies included the suit Brown was later hanged in. On March 12, 1859, Brown met with Fredrick Douglas and Detroit abolitionist George D. Baptiste, William Lambert, and others at William Webb's house in Detroit to discuss emancipation. D. Baptiste proposed that conspirators blow up some of the South's largest churches. The suggestion was opposed by Brown. All right, so this guy, D. Baptiste, was with the bullshit too. He was like, let's go blow up some Edomite churches, man, who felt humanity precluded such unnecessary bloodshed. All right. Over the course of the next few months, he traveled again to Ohio, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts to drum up more support for the cause. On May 9th, he delivered a lecture in Concord, Massachusetts that Amos Bronson, Alcott, Emerson, and Thoreau attended. Brown reconnoitered with the Secret Six. In June, he passed his last visit to his family in Elba before departing for the Harper's Ferry. He stayed one night en route in Hagerstown, Maryland, at the house of his Washington House on Washington Street. On June 30, 1859, the hotel had at least 25 guests, including I. Smith and Sons, Oliver Smith and Owen Smith, and Jeremiah Anderson, all from New York, from papers found in the Kennedy farmhouse after the raid. And it is known Brown wrote to Kager that he would sign into a hotel as I. Smith's Sons, okay? As he began recruiting supporters for an attack on slaveholders, see, this guy was going to go doing the same thing Nat Turner did. And he was in a few of his little skirmishes and battles. He was liberating Israelites. Okay, he was going to plantation straight, ransacking shit, killing shit. Brown was joined by Harriet Tubman, General Tubman, as he called her. Now she was a coon too. Because if I read the whole thing, it got some points in here where it showed that a lot of his raids, the people would get tips. And a lot of them tips was coming from Fredrick Douglas and bitches like Harriet Tubman, man, because she was a coon too. Her knowledge of support networks and resources in the border states of Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Delaware was invaluable to Brown and his planners. Some abolitionists, including Fredrick Douglass and William L. Garrison, opposed his tactics. But Brown dreamed of fighting to create a new state for free slaves and made preparations for military actions. Now, Fredrick Douglass opposed his tactics. See, he was on that nonviolent, let's deal with shit according to his white man laws. Fredrick Douglass was a coon. This dude was saying, let's go to war, take up arms, and kill these devils. But Fredrick Douglass was like, let's deal with them diplomatically. And we know through the spirit, you can't deal with this devil diplomatically. Look at all these treaties he broke with the Native Americans, with Gad. You can't learn from the past. All right, so you can't deal with him diplomatically and go to the table and make treaties with him. He's going to break them. All right. After he began the first battle, he believed slaves would rise up and carry out a rebellion across the South. But that's a lie, man. Our people are defeated mentally. Our people are fucking Edomites themselves when it comes to them mentally. They have the minds of the so-called white man. All right? These slaves, if you come to rebel and take down this so-called white man, you're going to have a vast majority of our people that's going to take up arms with this so-called white man and stop us from fighting this devil if we was to fight this devil carnally. Okay? Brown asked Tubman to gather former slaves then living in present-day Southern Ontario who might be willing to join his fighting force, which she did. He arrived in Harper's Ferry on July 3rd, 1859. A few days later, under the name Isaac Smith, he rented a farmhouse in nearby Maryland. He awaited this arrival of his recruits. They never materialized in the numbers he expected. See, our people ain't shit, man. In late August, he met with Douglas in Chambers, Pennsylvania, where he revealed the Harper's Ferry plan. Douglas expressed severe reservations, rebuffing Brown's plan to join the mission. See, Douglas didn't want no part of it. He was a conquered slave, man. He was just a nigga that read some books. Douglas was a coon. That's why he gets so much glory here in America. The so-called white man is not going to glorify somebody that was going against his program. Douglas was a coon. Douglas had known of Brown's plan since the early 1859 and had made a number of efforts to discourage blacks from enlisting. So this nigga was going around telling people, don't join this so-called white man in his insurrection against our oppressors to take them down. That was a coon, man. All right? All right? Now, the rest of this is coming in. You know what? I'm going to read the last little, because it's a lot. Initially, the raid went well. This is the one where he got caught, and they met no resistance into the town. They cut the telegraph wires. He went in ready, man, and easily captured the army, which was being defended by a single watchman. They next rounded up hostages from nearby farms, including Cornell Lewis, Washington, a great grandnephew of George Washington. They should have killed him on sight. They also spread the news to the local slaves that their liberation was at hand. All right, see, those slaves were supposed to gather arms with them, and the ones that didn't gather arms, they were supposed to kill them niggas. Things started to go wrong when an eastbound Baltimore and Ohio train approached the town. The train's baggage master tried to warn the passengers. See, that was a coon. He was a coon. Brian's Mill yelled for him to halt and then open fire. They were supposed to kill that nigga. They did right. He trying to warn the white men. The baggage master, Haywood Shepard, became the first casualty of Brown's war against slavery. So what? He was a coon. They were supposed to kill a nigga. They were supposed to cut his head off after they killed him. Ironically, Shepard was a free black man, but he was a coon, man. Fuck ironically. That was a beautiful kill. 2 of the hostage slaves also died in the raid. They was probably coons. For some reason, after the shooting of the Shepherd, Brown allowed the train to continue on his way. I don't know why he did that. A.J. Phelps, through the express passenger train conductor, sent a telegraph to W.P. Smith, Master of Transportation of the B&ORR Baltimore. Monarchy, October 17, 1859. Express train bound east under my charge was stopped this morning, Harper's Ferry, by armed abolitionists. They have possession of the bridge and the arms and armory of the United States. Myself and baggage master have been fired at, and Haywood, the colored porter, is wounded very severely. Being shot through the body, the ball entered the body below the left shoulder blade and coming out under the left side. Fuck that nigga, man. All right. So I'm gonna just skip down to the part. All right. His siege was started. All right. All right. Altogether, Bronze Mill killed. Oh, I want to get the part where to show you he had integrity with his son. I want to get to the part where he told his son to die like a man. That part was beautiful. All right, here we go. Brown then moved his prisoners and remaining renters into the engine house, a small brick building at the army's entrance. He had the doors and the windows barred and loopholes cut from the brick walls. The surrounding forces barraged the engine house, and the men inside fired back with occasional fury. All right, they was going down to the death. Brown sent his son Watson and another supporter out under a white flag, but the angry crowd shot them. Interment shooting then broke out, and Brown's son Oliver was wounded. His son begged his father to kill him and end his suffering, but Brown said, "If you must die, die like a man." You fucking right, man. See, this guy, that was an Israelite. A few minutes later, Oliver was dead. The exchange lasted throughout the day. They got it in all fucking day, shooting in all day, all right? He went out firing. He went down firing, all right? All right, now, imprisonment and trial and 6 weeks in jail. Brown and others captured were held in the office of the Army on October 1859. Virginia Governor Henry A. Weiss, Virginia Senator James A. Mason, and Representative Clement Vallandigham of Ohio arrived in Harper's Ferry. Mason led the 3-hour questioning session of Brown. Now, this was his words on his interview to let you know this was an Israelite, all right? And I'm about to get in the scriptures after this. "Had I so interfered in behalf of the rich, the so-called white man, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked, okay? They are the rich, according to this world. The powerful, the intelligent, the so-called great," he said the so-called great, and this is his words, quoted, "or in behalf of any other of their friends, either father, mother, brother, sister, wife of children, or any of that class, and suffer and sacrifice what I have in this interference, it would have been all right." You see what I'm saying? He's basically saying, if I did this for so-called white people, Hebrew Edomites, you would call this all right. "And every man in this court would have deemed it an act worthy of reward rather than punishment." Okay? "This court acknowledges, as I suppose, the validity of the law of God," but they don't. They're the devil, man. So-called white man is the devil the Bible speaks of. He's a hypocrite. They swear on Bibles, but they don't believe what's written in the Bible. "I see a book kissed, which I suppose to be the Bible, all right? Or at least the New Testament, that teaches that all things whatsoever I would that men should do to me, I should do even so to them. It teaches me further to remember them that are in bonds, as in bonds with them." See, that's integrity. This guy is quoting scripture for his last words. All right? He's saying, well, Yahweh Shem Shai has commanded us. Edomite would never have done that. "I endeavored to act up to this instruction." He's saying, I'm following the words of Yahweh Shem Shai. Okay? "I say I am yet too young to understand that Yahweh is any respecter of persons." Okay? This guy is prophesying around that motherfucker on his last words. "I believe to have interfered as I have always freely admitted I have done in behalf of his despised poor, who are the Israelites. We are the poor of this world." In Revelation 3:9, 2:9, he said, "I know your tribulation, that you are poor." He said, "But yet you are rich," because we have this knowledge. The poor are the Israelites. Was not wrong, but right. "Now, if it is deemed necessary that I should forfeit my life for the furtherance of the ends of justice," so-called white men don't worry about justice, "and mingle my blood further with the blood of my children and with the blood of millions in this slave country whose rights are disregarded by wicked, cruel, and unjust enactments." He called Edomites wicked, cruel, and unjust. "I submit, let it be done." He said, "Fuck it, kill me." He went to the gallows. This is an honorable death. John Brown in his speech following the conviction. Okay? That dude went to the gallows with a righteous death, man. That was a beautiful death. Okay? And I'm going to read Exodus 2, man, and show. He was in the spirit of Moses, man. All right? He was in the spirit of Moses. All right? This is Exodus 2:10. "And the child grew, and she brought him into Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son." So that this guy had the skin of an Edomite. He was treated like a so-called white man with respect. So he could have lived on the high hill. And when you read that he was a good businessman, all right, he had a lucrative business, he could have lived on the high hill, but he didn't. He used his funds to push uplifting his people. Just like Moses. Moses could have lived on the high hill. Moses could have lived a life, but he didn't. He wanted to better his people. And she called his name Moses. And she said, because I drew him out of the water. And it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown that he went out unto his brethren, all right, Israelites, and looked unto their burden. So he had compassion on his people. He said, fuck living on the high life. And he spied an Egyptian smiting a Hebrew, one of his brethren. And he looked his way and that way. And when he saw that there was no man, he killed the Egyptian, slew the Egyptian, and hid him in the sand. That's the same thing John Brown was doing. And when he went out on the second day, behold, 2 men of the Hebrews strode together. And he said unto them that did the wrong, wherefore smitest thou thy fellow? And that was a coon, Uncle Tom. This time, bro, I hate niggas. I hate niggas more than the so-called white man. We gonna get them niggas this time, man. And he said, who made thee a prince and judge over us? This the coon saying that shit. Intendest thou to kill me as thou killed this Egyptian? So this dude ratted on Moses, squealed on Moses for killing his oppressor, his enemy. And that's the things why we can't fight this devil carnally. If we went to bear arms and fight this devil carnally, we're going to have the majority of our people coming against us helping this devil. And Moses feared and said, surely this thing is known. See, but this guy came in the spirit of Moses, man. All right? He came trying to liberate his people. He had compassion on his people. He had a chance to live the high life and he didn't. Okay? He was also rocking on the spirit of King David. This 2 Samuel 4, I'm going to start at verse 9. And David answered Rechab and Benaiah, his brother, the sons of Rimmon, the Betherite. And he said unto them, as the Lord liveth, who have redeemed my soul out of all adversity. So these two niggas went and killed innocent blood, man. All right. And they thought King David was going to take what they did as good tidings. And David was like, fuck that. You did some wicked shit. Now, when one told me, saying, behold, Saul is dead, thinking to have brought good tidings, I took hold of him and slew him in Ziklag, who thought that I would have given him a reward for his tidings. All right? How much more when wicked men have slain a righteous person in his own house upon his bed? See, that's righteousness. That's the spirit. That brother seen our people on those plantations getting tarred, feathered, slaved, tarred, feathered, hung. All right? Everything done unseemly. He say, shall I not therefore now require his blood of your hand and take you away from the earth? So he saw his people getting oppressed and innocent blood being shed, and his zeal came upon him. This guy John Brown, and he came against his oppressors, and he slew the wicked. He killed many Uncle Toms too. All right, and David commanded his young men, and they slew them and cut off their hands and their feet and hanged them over the pool in Hebron. But they took the head of Ishabeth and buried it in a sculpture of Abner in Hebron. All right. But this guy was in the right spirit. That's how you know this guy wasn't an Edomite, because he was doing the things the men of old did. That's how you test the spirit by the spirit. Okay. This is another one to show the spirit of an Edomite. Let's see what's he rolling in this spirit. Let me get Psalms. Where you at, brother? Psalm 36. This is the spirit of the so-called white man. All right. Does this guy sound like this? All right. To the musician, Psalms 36:1. To the musician, a psalm of David, the servant of Yahweh Shai. The transgression of the wicked says within my heart, there's no fear of Yahweh before his eyes. You see what I'm saying? This man feared Yahweh Shai. All right. He said he was raised up to vindicate the poor and uplift those that were being oppressed. All right. The so-called white man don't have no fear of Yahweh Shai. He don't care about oppressing the poor. For he flattered himself in his own eyes until his iniquity be found to be hateful. What was going on during our paper during slavery was hateful, unjust. unrighteous, okay? That this guy John Brown wasn't rocking in his spirit. The words of his mouth are iniquity and deceit. He left out to be wise and to do good. All right? The so-called white man has no good in him. The so-called white man never would have tried to rob an armory and arm the slaves. He would never do that. So this lets you know, man, this talking about Edomites right here. He desired mischief on his bed. He settles himself in a way that is not good. He abhorreth not evil. The so-called white man is the epitome of evil. His spirit vibrates evil. He can't go to sleep, let me get that, unless he do some type of wickedness, man. All right? That brother wasn't coming in that spirit. All right? This is Proverbs 4:16. And it reads, all right, I'm going to start at 14. Enter not the path of the wicked, and go not the way of the evil men. And the so-called white man is the wicked, the red Hebrew Edomite. They're the wicked. Avoid it, pass not by it, turn from it, and pass away. And that's what that brother did. He avoided the ways of the so-called white man. He passed not by it. He turned from it. He went against it. He went against the grain, all right? For they sleep not, except they have done some mischief. And for their sleep is taken away, unless they cause someone to fall. For they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. That was violence happening to our people. That was violence what happened to the Native Americans, man. All right? Cunning devices the so-called white man used to take our people down and kill them in the millions. Millions. Okay? But the path of the just is the shining light that's shining more and more into the perfect day. And that guy, man, you can tell he was an avid Bible reader, man. He knew what was written. In his last words, man, he was quoting scripture, man. Okay? What other scriptures I'm going to get? Oh, yeah, go back to Psalms. All right? This is Psalms 37. I'm going to start at Salaki Asherala. All right. This Psalms 37:1. Fret not thyself because of evildoers, neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity. This guy wasn't envious. This guy was crying and sighing for the abomination going on around about him. Oppression made him mad. Okay, you gotta read these scriptures and show and learn the spirit of a righteous man and the spirit of a wicked man. All right, when you read that bio, that's the spirit of righteousness. Okay. All right. Verse 12, the wicked plotted against the just and gnashing the fifth him with his teeth. All right. This guy wasn't plotting against the just. He was trying to help the just. He just didn't do it according to knowledge. All right. He was for their cause. All right. He didn't raise his heel against the Israelites. He was trying to uplift, enlighten, and deliver the Israelites from oppression. Okay. I'm going to skip down to verse 14. The wicked have drawn out the sword and have bent their bow to cast down the poor and needy. You see, that guy in his last words say he was there to defend the poor and the needy. All right. So he's not these telltale signs who the wicked is not representing him. And to slay such as be as upright communication. Their sword shall enter in their own heart, and their bows shall be broken. And that's going to happen in this day and time. Okay? But yes, man, you go to precept and precept upon precept, and find out the spirit that this so-called white man rolls in, man. He's the wicked the Bible speak of, man. Okay? And this guy who looks like a so-called white man, but he's an Hebrew Israelite, man. And we could tell through the spirit, all right? His spirit bear witness, man. This is, all right? Daniel, I'm looking for, to this day, we have confusion of faces. I know it's in Daniel 9. Here we go. Daniel 9:7. O Yahweh, righteousness belongeth unto thee, but unto us confusion of faces, as it this day, to the men of Judah and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and to all Israel that are near and that are far off, through all the countries whether thou hast driven them, because the trespass that have trespassed against thee. So everywhere, the tribe of Judah, all of Israel, the 10 tribes, we have confusion of faces because we've been mingled with the seed of the other nations. All right. So we have Israelites that look like Japanese, so-called Chinese, so-called white people, so-called Europeans. All right. Every nation where we scatter, we have confusion of faces while our people look like the other nations. So this guy looked like a full-blooded Edomite, but he was an Israelite according to the flesh. All right. And his spirit bear witness. So Lord willing, this sit down was edifying to the hearers. I want to give infinite honors to Yahweh Shema Shai, the abundance to the apostles of great millstone, and salutation to you. Sincere, I can push this truth across the four winds. Kwam Yasharala.